Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to What Women Want with Judy Goss and Kristen West, only on LA Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to What Women Want Talk Radio. Thank you for joining us for our show tonight, Breaking Your Success Barriers. Well, we sure have done that here at What Women Want with over 1 million downloads since we first started the show. And between posting the replays on latalkradio.com, iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, and of course, all over social media, you can find us everywhere. So, looking for synergistic sponsors to partner with us for the next few months? Email us for a complete deck through our website, whatwomenwantradio.com, but be sure to wait after the show. Very often shows are based on reality. So this show, Breaking Your Success Barriers, is my reality of discovering that I had an unseen barrier that was holding back my potential. Okay, or maybe more than one. We probably all have several, but sometimes you can't see them and very often don't even realize you have them. So if I sound esoteric, I'm not trying to be. I'll give you an example. Okay, I didn't realize the limits I was putting on myself in my career until very recently. And until I was able to tease out what I really, really wanted and what was possible, not just probable, what was possible, I was able to open myself up to bigger and better opportunities. So the purpose of this show is to open you, my listeners, up to huge possibilities for your life. Crystal Etienne, founder of Panty Prop, never would have thought she would be the first African-American woman to build a 7-figure company around a taboo topic. And I bet Bill Carmody never imagined he would have one of the highest rated marketing firms in the nation, leading him to become a professional leadership coach. And we're going to hear from them in just a few minutes. My background comes from high fashion modeling with Ford New York, and after that I was a magazine editor, which then led me to hosting and reporting regularly for Better TV, City Buzz, all the TV networks around the country, both regional and national. And I'm also a regular contributor on NBC and Fox currently. I'm a published author with St. Martin's Press and an entrepreneur. I founded the company What Women Want Networking. Get the title, What Women Want Talk Radio, What Women Want Networking, 7 years ago. We're nationwide with several regional chapters around the country who hold monthly networking events, and we're hosting our second national What Women Want conference. Now, I hope you all can join us October 19th through 21. We're just starting to announce it at the Hyatt Regency in Atlanta, Georgia. So go grab your early bird ticket now before we raise the price in just a few weeks, about 6 weeks. I think the early bird's going till June 1st. General admission is now $197 for 3 days of learning, connecting, and elevating ourselves to higher levels in every way, business and personal. whatwomenwantconf.com to grab your ticket, and then email us here at the show so we can meet you and plug you as an early bird favorite all over social media. We go crazy when we know people on social media, so it's really fun. whatwomenwantconf.com. And Kristen West, my co-host, who's with me every week, you may be missing her lighthearted voice right now. We usually gab back and forth during this time, but she will be back next week for more fun and entertainment. And Kristen, if you're listening, we miss you. We're sending lots of love to you. And listeners, you're stuck with just me, but I'll be bringing our awesome guests on right after this message. Everyone buys printing in some form, and the company you can trust for great service is Design and Print Resource. Gloria Strayer, who has a great story, by the way, of her childhood and founding the company. She's founder and owner of Design and Print Resource in Anaheim, California, and has been in the print industry for 40 years. Can't get more experience than that. Her services include warehousing and distribution. Give her a call at 714-687-9200 or go to dndpresource.com. Okay, enough of me talking. I'm sure you didn't come on the show to just hear me talk. I'd love to bring on Crystal Etienne. She's on a mission to ensure men, women, and girls can #do anything in comfort, confidence, and courage. She's the founder of Panty Prop, an American-made e-commerce fashion-forward hygiene brand that offers a comprehensive collection of 30 unique items, including activewear, swimwear, sleepwear, and underwear. The collection reinvents how men, women, boys, and girls navigate puberty and life's other pesky leaks. Crystal and Panty Prop have been featured in, get this, People, 17, Bustle, Cosmopolitan, Hello Giggles, Business Insider, Racked, She Knows, Teen Vogue, Refinery 21. This list goes on and on. Allure, Self Magazine. I bet she's probably racking up the press as we're speaking, too. So, Crystal, welcome to the show.
Hi. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited, too. And you're going to have to add What Women Want Talk Radio onto that press list.
Yes, absolutely.
You have such an interesting story. Your company is based not only on your health issues that you discovered, I think a while ago, but I guess your daughter's experiences were really the catalyst with her periods. Isn't that right?
Yes.
I know, it's funny, but you know what? A lot of times we open companies off of, our suffering and the problems that we want to solve. So if you could just give us a little insight into how you came about this innovation.
Well, for me, it started in my 20s after I gave birth to my daughter. Just one day out of the blue, I noticed that I would laugh or cough, and I had no control over life's pesky leaks. At first, I felt embarrassed, but, I couldn't find that solution on the market. And then with my daughter, as she was growing up, she used to be a competitive swimmer, and she used to get so nervous to go swimming on her swim meets when she had her period. I would watch these girls, practice and swim, the whole year, and then when it came to time for game time, to compete, if they had their period, at such a young age, they used to sit out and they would be on the side crying all the time. And, I just couldn't bear the idea of her feeling ashamed or awkward. I wanted her to know that she could do anything with confidence. So that's why I created the solution.
Well, you're a great mother.
And yes, she tells me all the time.
I mean, oh, that's great. I'm glad she appreciates you. I hope she's listening right now because you sound like you're an amazing mom. And not only did you want to solve her problem, but you went and took a step and decided to do that. Now, what were you doing at the time when you were, bringing her to swim meets? Did you have a job or what were you into? What did you do?
Believe it or not, I was the previous CFO. I had no background in what I'm doing right now. I just know that I had a problem, she had a problem, and it was a problem that I needed to fix.
And were you sitting at your desk as a CFO restless because you were kind of had an entrepreneur inside you, no?
Yes, I was actually not at work. I was actually at home watching TV, and that day, in the morning time, I actually did one of those little coughs. I leaked, and then that day I also had my period. And the pad was just sticking out, and I just was I had enough. There's no reason in this day and age that we should still be dealing with that and being uncomfortable. And that's what made me have that aha moment.
Now, the name of our show is Breaking Your Success Barrier, and your company grew 400% in just 10 months. That's incredible. Did you ever think you would be at that level? Was there a goal you had, or it just it started exploding and you couldn't believe it? How did that work?
I definitely did not think at that time. Panty Prop solves a universal unspoken problem. So I didn't think at that time. But then when I started researching, did you know that there are 600,000 searches in Google each month just on how to navigate those pesky leaks that we deal with? I wanted to provide, I wanted to provide a solution for people like myself who search for the solution. And I would have never imagined growing so fast. I knew it was a problem, but I didn't think it was such a big problem until I actually had that aha moment.
And this is your first company?
Yes.
That's really incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So I'm going to bring on Bill now. Bill Carmody is a professional leadership coach, published author, and an internationally recognized keynote speaker. He founded 2 top-ranking marketing agencies, including TreePoint, which was ranked the 83rd fastest-growing private company in New York by Inc. magazine. The purpose of Bill's life is to be an inspirational leader who solves problems and creates breakthroughs for himself and others. Welcome back to the show, Bill.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate you having me here.
Now, I think I have two people here that I feel like everything they touch turns to gold. Is that true?
Not at all.
Ooh.
See, I actually think
Talk to Aunt Judy.
I think that it's success leaves clues, right? This is something that Tony Robbins said a long time ago. It really gravitated with me. But it's also very much like an iceberg. When people see other people's success, they see the top. They don't see what's underneath. They don't see all of the trial and tribulation, all of the failures, all of the things that actually make us successful. The fact is that the most success I've ever had came from my hardest struggles. And I think that what people think about when they think about a success breakthrough is you think about the end result. And it looks easy when you're on the other side. You know, having that Inc. 5000 designation says, well, that's amazing. Yeah, but do you have to go through all the months and years of pain that got me to that place? And I feel like that is what really, when you talk about success barriers, it's really the coal or the carbon that makes the diamond beautiful, right? It's the struggle that we really have to understand and appreciate and follow through on in order to get the success to the other side. So,
all right,
that's
so
how I'd answer your question.
Let's talk about that pain and the cold you went through. What are some of the things you went through, you know, and had to kind of put aside to keep moving forward? Because that's part of the problem, right? We have to put these things aside that we really believe sometimes about ourselves that aren't necessarily true.
Absolutely, and I think sometimes, and I think what's really what happens is that we cannot control what happens to us in life. We can only control what we do about it. So, for example, before I started TradePoint, I was a partner in another very successful agency called Seismicom, and my business partner, who had put up the money, had the controlling share of the interest of the company. We had successfully built it to 75 employees, 3 offices, and over $25 million. I was ecstatic.
Wow!
We were doing so well, right? Life was great, everything was going great, and then my business partner decides he wants to pivot, get out of the promotions industry that we had been built so successfully and become an ad agency. Now, he had the controlling share. There was nothing I could do about that. If his decision was we're going to move this direction, we were. So I actually had to get myself bought out of that situation, which was I wanted to stick with. But the truth was I knew that would be a failure because he didn't know what he was doing in advertising. I'd been in advertising. He hadn't. I knew what he was up for. I wasn't up for that task. And 6 months later, Seismicom was out of business. So I made the right call. And I left, but I left and had to start all over again. Now, I could have basically cried about that and been upset and not, but instead I used that to say, great, let me take this and start all over. But here's the thing. I had a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. It's not a great time to start a company from scratch. Wouldn't you agree?
I guess not. Geez, I have twins, so I totally get it.
So the pain is now suddenly I switch off and I'm brand new again. So I went from having 75 employees to just me. And now I'm realizing that the clients that I want to work with, well, I was a proven entity at my last agency, but now I'm unproven again. So I have to start all over from scratch.
And did they hold that against you, that the company went out of business?
Not directly, but the thing that a lot of people said that was smart because I had left before it went out of business. I had called it. I had thought
so they knew you left.
So yeah, they knew I left. But the problem was that as a startup, I'm still a startup. It doesn't matter. So now you're sitting there going, okay, so these people absolutely want to give me business, but now their own controlling controllers say no because I'm an unproven entity. So I have to start all over again. And so from that perspective, it's a matter of, okay, how do I, quote unquote, struggle well? This is a concept from Ray Dalio in his book Principles, which I absolutely love. It's how do I struggle well? How do I actually enjoy the process of all the pain and agony that's going to get me to the end game? Because if I bring it on as poor me or, this shouldn't have happened, why did this happen? I was on top of the world, now I got to start over again, then I bring that attitude wherever I go. And I'm not going to be successful, am I?
And that's one of the barriers that people have is when something happens to them. You said it's all about how you react to it, right? Well, if you react in a way that, you're a victim, then I'm assuming that that's a barrier.
That's exactly right. So the victim mentality is such that what ends up happening is if I believe that life is happening to me, not for me, then when I look at it from that perspective, I'm going to constantly feel pity for myself, and I'm not going to take this opportunity to go and be stronger. Diversity and adversity, all of the things that happen that we don't love, the pain, is actually the opportunity for growth. And we don't see it in the moment. In the moment, it just feels like pain, and it sucks, right? But when we look back, we say that's the best thing that could have happened to me. You know, having Seismicom go away gave me the space to build TradePoint, right? And so for me, I look at that being very fortunate. But I look at that, you know, we look at history with rose-colored glasses. I remember very deeply in that moment, it sucked. It was horrible. I was losing everything, and I had to start over. That's no fun.
Yeah.
But at the same time, look what happened. You know,
right.
that struggle produced an even better result for me personally.
And let's bring Crystal back around, because I feel like, you know, part of the conversation is breaking through these barriers. Crystal, what did you experience that you struggled through in building your company?
Just embarking on what he said. You know, running a business is like having a baby. You anticipate and dream about your due date, that's starting the business, and you will always cherish the birth, that's the launch, and then you watch the baby grow into this successful human being growth. So as he said, people always see that successful part of it there, but they never see, like, what, just in his story of what he went through. They thought that he was just like this amazing thing, and then he's just like right there. So the same thing, you know, on my end, it was a lot of work, especially not having, you know, the background. Like I said, I was a CFO. I knew how to run a business and, you know, talk on that and network and speak on that higher business level. But starting a startup is like one of the scariest things in the world.
It's like having a baby over and over again that has health issues, and then you have celebrations. Yes, and then you have the birthdays and the celebrations, and then all of a sudden they have another health issue or something goes wrong or an accident.
Yeah,
you know, and
there are no cookie cutter answers or manual to tell you what to do. You know,
Definitely
you're going to get things wrong and you're going to get some things right. Nothing is never perfect. And like I said, it's just like having a baby and raising a child. And I just feel that when you are, you know, the best business advice that I can give to myself and to everyone else is if, you know, you never have to compete if you solve real life problems that real people have.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
go ahead,
Judy. I wanted to also chime in on one other point, which is that the most profound question that my coach asked me that really has stuck with me in terms of breaking through success barriers was, are you designing your life or are you managing your circumstances? And it was a profound question to me because if I'm managing my circumstances, it means I'm dealing with the things that come at me, right? I'm dealing with the problems. I'm dealing with the challenges. But if I'm designing my life, I'm not really focused on the problems. I'm focusing on how do I get to the end game of what I'm really setting out to do. And by designing my life, I will look at those challenges and obstacles as things to get over or through and not let them slow me down or keep me where they want me to be. You know, I'm focused on where I want to be. And designing my life allows me to constantly remember why I set out to do what I'm doing. So
right, and I don't think managing your circumstances is living to your true potential, right? You're just kind of in auto drive, right, or just automatic pilot.
Life wants to test us to see how determined we are to be the best version of ourselves. And when we don't hit our true potential, it's really those setbacks. All that is just reminding us that we have to work harder to achieve what we really want. See, I see walls and barriers as not as deterrents, but actually as a test. How determined am I to get over that wall, right? Because for most people, they hit that wall, they're like, well, I guess I can't go that way anywhere, and they go a different direction. But really what life's trying to see is, are you willing to go up, over, through, under, whatever it takes to get to the other side where you really want to be?
And Crystal, you really rose up, you know, to the cause is building a business and becoming successful and really innovating something that wasn't out there necessarily, at least in as far as the kind of quality and types of products, I believe, that you offer, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you had a competitor one point or something? You were working with someone. What's that story? I read it in an article somewhere that you were working with someone and you guys kind of split apart. Her company split apart. Or what happened?
I had a competitor who was much bigger than, when Panty Prop first launched. I actually had no idea, of how big the competitor was.
Thanks, right?
Yes, and I was just able to honestly just not focus on the competitor, and I am my own customer. I'm a mom. I had a daughter who, like I said, was on a competitive swim team, and at times I saw girls just crying. Can you just imagine seeing that on the side after they practiced the whole year? So that's why I created, the period swimwear.
Mm-hmm.
Empathy sells, and I can relate to, my core customer in so many ways. And it's just so important, not to focus on the negative and to focus on the positive. You can't please everyone, but if you can please, 999 people out of 1,000, I feel that you have done your job very well.
Now, that's a good point, is focusing on the positive, because then you create less barriers, right? Than if you would have said, oh, gosh, somebody's already doing it, forget it. You wouldn't be here right now, and that is so admirable.
Absolutely. And at the same time, I didn't, even though we're completely different with what we offer, we still are in that same space, and I just did not focus on that. I just focused on, the experience of what I wanted to give moms and, girls like myself, or we even have men, for what my husband, he has a fleet of trucks, and I just wanted something that he was going to be comfortable in all day. So, I can relate to the product. So I did not focus on the competition, so to say. I focused on creating that perfect experience for people like myself that can relate in the same way of seeing my daughter cry and it just crushing my feelings, and knowing that, we are helping that next mom to say, my daughter has a swim meet next week, or she's going to camp, or we're going away and she has her period. And can you just imagine just the devastation for a 10-year-old? So if we can have people relate to that like I can, and that's how I got through, of just perfecting the product to give my best instead of, focusing on competition.
And what Crystal is saying is so important for all businesses, because if you focus on your competitors, you're always going to be second. You're always going to be a fast follower, and it's going to be not very innovative. But what she said that is so important that I really hope all the listeners really picked up on is this idea of obsessing about the needs of your customer. If you obsess on the needs of your customers, you're always going to be successful, because as their needs change and shift and evolve, so will you and your business and your products and your company. And that's what keeps most companies that are most successful relevant. And the ones that fall out of relevancy is because they're not focusing on the needs of their customer base, which is what Crystal has done and one of the reasons why she's so successful.
Well, Bill, this is a good question for you then, because I know you're getting into motivational speaking and leadership coaching and all that. What are some of the tools that we can, and I'm going to ask Crystal this too, because obviously she had some, way of keeping herself in line with her vision and her goal. What are some of the ways we can do that?
I would tell you that the first thing I'm always looking at is the why or the purpose. In Crystal's case, and I'll let her say it, her version of this, but she saw a real problem that affected her and her family. And that sort of what the variation of that why really drove her. And that's the same thing for me. When I looked at what am I most passionate about in my life, I said, what I want to help is I want to help with individual personal transformations. And the most happy I've always been in my life was when I supported somebody with their own breakthroughs. And so my mission and my passion drives me. My why drives me. And the idea of having a very crisp purpose, my reason for being. They say that the two most important moments in a person's life are the day they were born and the day they figure out why, right? And this is it. When you have a clear definition of your purpose, then it'll push you through all those times when things don't go your way. we're going to get knocked down. Let's be completely clear about this. Success is based on those people who have figured out how to manage failure well, right? There's no such thing as not failing. You will fail. You're destined to fail. The question is, what do you do to get yourself back up when you get knocked down? And if you have a clear sense of mission and a clear sense of purpose, that's the most important thing you can have. It's clearly articulated. You know what it is. You said at the beginning when you introduced me, the purpose of my life is to be an inspirational leader that solves problems and creates breakthroughs for myself and others. That inspires me. That's my why, right? That's why I'm here on this phone tonight, and this is why I will continue to try to serve as many people as I can through the rest of my life.
And honestly, that's why you're back on the show. It's because absolutely, because you are inspirational and you do teach people, how to find the why and how to break through their barriers and all that. So it just, and that's my passion, is providing people like you and Crystal that are such great role models for everyone out there, and not just starting businesses, going through whatever you're going through personally also. So Crystal, let us know what some of your, tough spots were and how you broke through them. I did read an article about that you were trying to get investing and you felt like maybe you were put off to the side a little bit because you're a woman and an African American. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I am, like I said, I am completely the underdog, even in, I would be considered that underdog. I'm African American.
Well, not anymore, honey.
Well,
okay, you are the shining light for people like me and other people that want to build businesses and that are women and that feel like they've been kicked to the side. You really are. You're a shining light for us to look at and learn from.
Yes, and just of all the strikes against me of being that African American, being a woman, I'm not a millennial, I'm a solo founder. And I have not raised millions of dollars, from VCs, but with statistics, I'm a complete success because of, my complete desire to build a company that actually helps people. But with all those strikes against me, I still was able to grow Panty Prop by 400%, in less than 10 months, largely bootstrapping the company.
And what do you think is the main reason for you, exploding with that kind of growth? It wasn't luck, obviously, because, you're doing something that's creating business and Bill, you have a marketing background, so you would know that also. Do you really feel like, you hit that pain point? I mean, that's not all of it. There's something else that you must have done. Absolutely. Or someone you spoke. Tell us.
Absolutely. So one, the most important was I was able to think like the buyer. and so, in every single way, as I've explained, I basically, with the company, I eliminated all the fluff. Most people, people don't like gimmicks. I don't like to give any gimmicks. So customers just want to see like what they get, what they want, and what they're getting. And I can relate to that. I did responsible spending, obviously, since I'm not one of those startups.
Sure. The CFO background helped, right?
Yes. And then just, all around, especially from the beginning, from day one, I've always offered 24/7 customer support. Now we have a customer support team, but in those first couple of months, it was actually me, like staying up all night. Because isn't it like the worst thing when you have a question? You might just want to ask like how to measure myself, and then you have to wait 2 days for a company to reply back. You've done forgot about the product. So 24/7 customer support, and that's how I just really just combined all the things of what I saw that was needed, to get my company and for people to feel comfortable. Like that's what Panty Prop is all about. It's about being safe with products and also, with your personal care and your hygiene. And it's also about feeling comfortable. And that's Crystal, what I just wanted everything to be around.
I really want to applaud you for that, See, I really hope others pick up on what you just said. The dedication that you have, your obsession with customer service, your obsession with delivering value, your obsession on really supporting people the way you want to be supported. To me, that is what's most truly awesome about what you've done. It's not the product. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure the product is incredible. I'm sure it does everything you've ever dreamed of and more. But just if you think about it, how many of us are willing to be able to put our cell phones on the line and be called 24 hours a day, 7 days a week when we're first getting started? That is a level of dedication that most people are not willing to go to, and that's what separates you from a lot of other people. So I want to applaud you for that. That's really fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, it's all about turning that passion into a business. And Bill, I know that you are one of the top experts on this on this subject. So what is that flip switch, Bill, when you have an idea and you have a passion and you need to really convert that into dollars? What are some of the key? Yeah, go ahead.
So it's really the way in which, first of all, I love the question. The way in which I go about this is that when you talk about passion, I have all these people that constantly have come up to me over my career, 24 years, saying, I've got this great idea, right? And they're very impressed with their own idea. And the fact of the matter is, ideas are cheap. People think ideas are valuable, and that's why a lot of people, spend money on patents and they try to go after there and try to protect their idea and do everything they can. But it's not the idea that builds the business. It's the massive action you take from that idea. So in the case of Crystal, think about what she did. She was tired of saying, okay, in this day and age, how is this even possible? How is it that we're still dealing with this issue? That's crazy, And so she could just have thought that, and that's the idea part. Right? But she took massive action. She built an entire business around that idea. And that's where I think when we think about how do you turn your passion into the actual result of a great built business, it comes down to understanding what massive action needs to be taken in order to take that vision and to make it real. It starts again with the purpose, know your why. And then you got to know your reasons. Why am I going to be able to stay up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the first 3 months, whether or not this business is successful? Because I'm that passionate about the outcome, right? So if you have a really clear crystal why, that will start the process. But then it can't stop there. You got to say, okay, well, what is the massive action I'm willing to take right here, right now to get momentum? And that's what it comes down to. You just don't ever want to stop your momentum. And when the businesses that are most successful, they just keep going. And if you think about it, when you think about all the stats about businesses that fail, most of them fail in the first year. And the reason they fail in the first year is because they lose momentum. And then they eventually give up, and they're like, okay, you know what, I'm going back to my day job because it's easier. And that's the thing. Successful businesses are not easy. If they were, everybody would do it. So most people dabble.
Yeah, exactly. And somebody was talking to me the other day about, they were asking people what is their why in their business. And they were getting up and saying, I want to help women and I'm passionate about helping kids. And it was very general, and they were very, feeling and passionate about the topic, but they weren't really narrowing and focusing into the why, the steps. I want to sew together two pieces of material to help this leaking and go out there and create this type of product, and they weren't getting into the details. So I feel a lot of times we get really lost in our passion and what we're doing.
You're talking about the entrepreneur's dilemma. And the entrepreneur's dilemma is, now that I've got my idea, I want to cast the widest net possible. And this is the trap that every entrepreneur faces at some point in their career.
A success barrier.
Yeah, this is your success barrier. I want to target everybody. If you have a wallet, I want the cash inside your wallet to basically buy my product, right? That's the fallacy. And instead, what we need to be doing is getting very narrow. And that's the paradox. The more narrow you get, then who you want to focus, especially at the beginning of your business, the more specific you can become, the more successful you'll be. And it's the opposite of what you think. You think when you cast a big, giant, wide net, and we're available to everybody, but then you don't resonate with a very specific tribe, with a very specific niche group.
Okay, now hold on, because Crystal has 30 different products, and she's reaching out to men, women, kids. Where did you start? Did you start with the kids? You said you yourself had an issue too.
So with me, I wasn't so, in the beginning, I was focused on the product, and then I shifted that focus a few months later after, like how he said, I have this great product. So instead of just being focused on making a great product, I was focused on creating a good user experience for people that deal with these issues every day. And I think that's what he was trying to say, and that's what I did. So I had a focus of where it was going. So if you look at all of the products that we sell, it still has a focus of where it's going. And that focus is being able to take care of yourself and have good hygiene and good personal care.
You are so focused. It's amazing. Bill, I have a product person here on the show tonight, and I have, you give out your services, basically. So you could coach anyone. I mean, you could coach anyone how to, lead people, how to manage their money, how to manage their business, their time, that type of thing, how to build a company. How would someone like you, because I'm sure there are a lot of coaches that are listening to this show also, how did you narrow down your focus, or how do you, at the moment, narrow down for your coaching business?
Well, it's funny. I'm down to 2. I started with 8. That's keeping it narrow. 8 groups of individuals that I really thought I wanted to focus on and help. And I experimented, to be honest, because I was passionate about a lot of different tribes, and I wanted to sort of see who I could help the most. And so for me, there was a process of elimination and a process of experimentation. So when I'm advising focusing in that very narrow focus, it's really making sure you're connecting at the deepest level with the people you wish to serve. And so for me, that's come down to 2 groups. Number one is entrepreneurs, specifically leaders, the folks that are actually building the businesses like what we're talking about. I know that I can help them the most because I have so direct experience having done this multiple times myself and coming through the other side. So I focus on entrepreneurs. And the second group is actually coming off of a book that I'm working on right now called Fat Ass to Badass. And what that is basically my own personal transformation, how I dropped 55 pounds, decided to do an Ironman. All of that was basically how I took all of this sedentary lifestyle because I was so obsessed with my business. I started losing my health. And so that's the other side of the other group that I really am passionate about supporting is people who are looking to do their own personal transformation health-wise, right? Whether that's dropping weight, whether that's just getting to a better, healthy routine, whether that's finding balance between work and life. The fact is most people are struggling at some level with basically breaking through the other side so that they can maintain that longevity of life, which is really where entrepreneurs tend to fall back, is if they are so obsessed with their companies, they often forget about themselves.
Another barrier is balance. Now, Crystal, you said you were on the phone 24/7 basically the first year or something. You started the company?
The first few months, it was just me.
First few months, just you. How did you maintain your balance? It sounds like your daughter was kind of young. You must have been running around like crazy, driving here everywhere and working. And I don't know if you were still doing your CFO career.
No, once I launched the company, I had launched it. My daughter now is 21, but I have a son who is 11 years old. So you can just imagine at that time, he was 9 years old. He didn't even turn 9 at the time yet, actually.
Yeah, so how did you hold it together with all that? You have young kids, you're answering the phone 24 hours a day.
I had a mission, and, once you are in it, you're in it. And you just actually just do it. That's what entrepreneurs do. That's what you do when you have a startup that you're trying to grow. You just do it, and you do it the best way that you know how. And then when you fall, you have to get back up, and you have to figure it out because nothing is perfect. And that's just what I did. I just did not focus on the negative. I focused on the positive, on what my mission was.
And Bill, you had spoken earlier about failures and learning from them and moving forward. And this is one of my favorite subjects because I've failed so many times. And, I feel like there are no mistakes if we learn from them and that type of thing. I know you were talking about your business at first and how you were trying to kind of find yourself and start a new business and all that. How does someone get through, take that next step when they're down and out and they just don't have the confidence or maybe even the energy or the drive to move forward? What's the first thing that someone should do?
If they really are struggling with that sort of almost depressive state, right, and sort of coming back to sort of why am I doing this, you get knocked down and you want to stay down, really what that's coming from is a focus on circumstance as opposed to focus on mission. And so, like Crystal said, when you're going to get knocked down, you have to get back up. Well, the way you get back up is you're more obsessed with serving your customers or the outcome of the mission you're going after.
Designing your life.
Right, than your own personal trauma. Because here's what happens. The reason people get stuck and stay down is because they are now obsessed with their circumstance, the events. Why me? Why did this happen to me? Well, and then suddenly what happens is it goes from pain to suffering. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. If you stay in suffering, it's because you're focusing on yourself, and you continue to be in that place. And that's a harsh truth, and it's really hard to sort of understand and own that. Because basically, you look at pain and you're like, well, of course I should be in suffering because look at what happened to me. But instead, you can say, okay, if I were to flip that and say, what if this was a gift? What if this failure was actually life giving me a chance to be better? What if this was actually a way to make me stronger? What if this was actually preparing me for something much greater that I don't even understand at this moment? If you can look at it from that perspective, you won't stay in suffering. You'll truly embrace the circumstance that has occurred and make it better.
Changing that perspective around. Now, Crystal, this may be a little off topic, but I'm just dying to know because, your business grew so quickly and it seemed like you pretty much did everything right and you're able to handle, issues that come along and failing and getting back up. Did people see you differently after you started really succeeding in your business? Did people look at you differently, friends, other moms, that type of thing?
Absolutely not. No, I'm the...
Oh, you're lucky.
Yes, I'm actually the same person no matter what room I'm in. I'm always the same. So, no, I've always had... Usually, if you take, like, an entrepreneur, like, say, just us, we all have that. There's just something that every person has that... If you are just going to keep going at it, it's something that we all have, and then the one day that we find that, we'll be able to sell it to other people. But I just don't know what it is.
Yeah, but people saw me differently, honestly, when my company started taking off. People, I feel like... Really?
No.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I was different. I think I was different because I was out of, I feel like when I had a 9-to-5 job, I was always kind of suffering, and I went through a couple of layoffs, and it was, for me, the universe telling me that I needed to get out there and live my passion. But yeah, I felt like when my company started becoming successful that I did get looked at differently and I got treated differently. And it was interesting. I don't think some of those people now are still my friends. But it's interesting once you start to succeed, how people look at you differently. Bill, did you experience that? You must have.
I did. And I actually find that if I look back, I actually did evolve or change some of my friend groups, because what I realized was there was a unhealthy fear that showed up in folks that I was distancing myself from other people, and I wasn't. It wasn't a conscious effort at all. But what ends up happening is when somebody sees someone else who's very successful, they have one of two reactions. They support them, and they're like, that's amazing, go for it. But more often than not, it's like, well, how come that person did it and I can't? And that sort of that disconnect is one of the things that ends up sort of creating sort of a negative energy around the folks that you used to spend around and have fun with. You've sort of gone to a different place as an entrepreneur and in your success, and that makes people feel uncomfortable. And so the way I would describe what the sensation you're describing is this idea of you've changed. because you're different, because you're looking differently, you're acting differently. Maybe you have a little bit more swagger in your step because you've actually reached a new level. That's the part that basically feel people are not sure exactly how to embrace that difference that's there. And so the people that support you and build you up, you're going to continue to be with for a very long time. But the people that basically are sort of trying to knock you down and sort of like get back to my level, and it's like, whoa, hold on a second, right? And that's the part where you start to see there's a bit of destructive non-support. And at some point you have to ask yourself, is it worth it to sort of put myself in those situations?
Yeah, get rid of the toxic friends, people. Yeah. It's not worth it.
Maybe for me, because the majority of people that I know and that I be around and that I've been around my whole life are entrepreneurs, so they kind of understand this.
Oh, maybe,
and it's
yeah.
always like that positive talk of say, us telling the other person, you can do this. So I have not experienced that at all.
Well, you're lucky.
Great.
And
lucky.
Yeah, it's for sure. And I've been, surrounding myself with mainly entrepreneurs, but, some of them not, but mainly entrepreneurs for a long time, because it's just a different head when you get into this space. And, it's just a different way of feeling, thinking, and being. And obviously I do have friends that are still working, 9-to-5 jobs. And those friends, like Bill said, stick around. And I've been friends with them for a long, long time. And just nothing's ever changed. I could do whatever, and they just don't see me differently. So that's always nice too. So Crystal, let us know where we can get Panty Prop and find out more about you and follow you on Instagram and Facebook and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so Panty Prop is at pantyprop.com. That's PANTYPROP.com. All across every social media is at Panty Prop.
I noticed that is as passionate and as focused and as determined you are, you're also consistent, Bill, you'd love to hear this, all the way across the board. Panty Prop, Panty Prop, Panty Prop. It was like everything. I didn't have to find Crystal, Etienne, and, and then Panty Prop. And like me, I've got Judy Goss and Judy.Goss and What Women Radio and all kinds of stuff going on here, which I'm still trying to consolidate. But it was just great all across board, Panty Prop, and you have some great social media out there and some resources too. I noticed when I was looking around, dabbling around.
Yes,
and of course you're beautiful.
We're on a mission to teach
you are, and you help young girls, feel confident, and with your hashtag, what is it? Do anything. What's your hashtag?
Do anything.
Do anything, and also your beautiful website with all of your products and your 30 different products. I'm sure you're going to have 100 by the time I have you back on the show next year. So congratulations to you, and thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
And Bill, it's always a pleasure to speak to you. I've seen you speak live and on the radio and, in videos and everything else. And it's just always so great to have you, just kind of revel in your wisdom and everything, because you've been through so much, but you also, are so educated and know so much also. So it's always such a pleasure. Absolutely.
And I would like to offer any of the audience members who are listening who actually think they could get some benefit from the coaching that I'm doing.
Sure.
They can actually go to calendarly.com/Bill Carmody. But if you can't, it's a mouthful, you can just go to twitter.com/Bill Carmody, and you'll see the link right there on the left-hand side in the description. But you can get a free 1-hour coaching session with me.
1 hour. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, it's my gift to the world. I want to help as many people as I possibly can.
Yeah, no, that's great. And you are helping just doing what you're doing now. So 1 hour private coaching is priceless. So that's Bill Carmody, Carmody. Just want to tell them how to spell your last name, because you could probably spell that several different ways.
Very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, thank you again for coming on the show. It's so great to have you. And next week we have celebrity chef Serena Poon. She's coming on the show along with emotional intelligence expert Jane Bishop, who, Bill, I think you've met before or crossed paths along the way. She's fantastic as well. I can't wait till the show. So remember, subscribe to us on YouTube. Don't miss even one show. Go to whatwomenwantradio.com for more information, and we'll see everyone next week. Good night.
You're listening to What Women Want with Judy Goss and Kristen West, only on LA Talk Radio.